Blessed evening, all. Welcome to another evening of Relationship Corner. I am your host, Reverend Winston Peccoo, aka Dr. Love, and I'm glad that you have chosen to join me this evening as we seek to have a conversation about honesty. In fact, the theme for this evening and for another couple of evenings would be the policy of radical honesty. So many relationships have been destroyed and are on the rocks because of dishonesty. But before we proceed any further, let's bow our hearts in prayer. Kind, gracious, eternal, and O everlasting Father, in the exalted name of our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ, we come to you this evening. We want to thank you for your grace. We want to thank you for your mercy. We pray as we discuss this evening that you will speak to our hearts and you will magnify yourself as we continue to look to you in Jesus' name. Amen. God bless you, Eleanor. Welcome. And for those of you who have joined, I suggest that you tell your friends or tell your neighbor, invite them to tune in, for they just might hear something that will help them in their relationship. As we talk about radical honesty this evening. And if I should ask you the question, how many of you have been lied to? I assume all of you would put up your hand and said, I have. How many of you like honest people? And I mean real honest, because some people rather to be comforted with a lie than to be told the harsh truth, which will eventually makes their life better. You see, honesty and openness is one of the 10 most emotional needs that one must have in your marriage. Which means when those needs are met, it can trigger the feeling of love. When those needs are met, it can trigger the feeling of love. But its counterpart, dishonesty, is one of the 5 most destructive love buster when, that you can experience. When spouses are dishonest, they destroy the love they have for each other. It's important, my friend, that you seek to be honest one with another. Seek to be honest in your relationship, because if you are not, you will destroy your love one for another. But the other reason that honesty is crucial in marriage, honesty is the only way that you and your spouse will ever come to understand each other. Honesty is the way where you and your spouse, the only way you and your spouse will come to know each other. Or understand each other. Without honesty, the adjustment that is crucial to the creation of compatibility in your marriage cannot be made. Without honesty, your best effort to resolve conflict will be wasted because you will not understand each other well enough to find mutually acceptable solution. How you being honest in your relationship? Most couples do the best they can to make each other happy. I said most, at least for a while. But their effort, however sincere, are often misdirected. They aim at the wrong target. Ignorance is not a lack of effort. Ignorance is not the lack of effort. It's often the most important cause of ultimate downfall. Couples are not only ignorant of ways to improve their marriages, they're often ignorant of the problem themselves. So many couples try to avoid conflict by sometimes deliberately misinforming each other as to their feelings, personal history, activities, and plans. This not only leads to a failure to meet an important emotional need and a withdrawal of love unit when the deception is discovered. It also makes marital conflict impossible to resolve. If you can't be honest, your marital conflict will not be resolved. After all, how can you and your spouse solve a problem if all your cards are not on the table? So, to help you understand how honest you need to be to have a successful marriage, I'm here tonight to talk about radical honesty. But some people say that it is radical, yes, and I think it is. But what I'm simply advocating is complete honesty in marriage, complete honesty in relationship. In our culture, when you talk about complete honesty, I guess that is a radical idea. You see, this policy of radical honesty revealed to your spouse, is not when you reveal to your spouse as much information about yourself as you know. Your thoughts, your feelings, your habits, your likes, your dislikes, your personal history, your daily activities, and plan for the future. To explain this policy, I have broken it down into 5 parts: emotional honesty, historical honesty, current honesty, future honesty, and financial honesty. Emotional honesty, in a nutshell, is that you reveal your emotional reaction, both positive and negative, to the event of your life, particularly your spouse's behavior. Historical honesty is that you reveal information about your personal historical particular events that demonstrate personal weakness or failure. Current honesty is that you reveal information about events of your day. Provide your spouse with a calendar of your activity with special emphasis on those that may affect your spouse. Future honesty is that you reveal your thoughts and plan regarding future activities and objectivities. Financial honesty is that you reveal how much money you earn, what you're doing with your money, and so forth. To some extent, this policy seems like motherhood and apple pie. Who would argue, my friend, that it's not a good idea to be honest? But in many cases and in my experience, as somebody who talk to people and counsel people in marriage, you find out that you constantly struggle with the belief of many clients that this honesty can be good under certain condition. Some people think that this honesty can be good under certain condition. Moreover, pastors and some counselors themselves often advise dishonesty when a spouse have committed a particular thoughtless act, such as infidelity. And many marital therapists warn against complaining. Something, many therapists warn against complaining. Something that some consider one of the seven deadly sins of marriage. Some people think that complaining is one of the seven deadly sins of marriage. In fact, there are more deadly sins. One of these programs, we are going to talk about those sins of marriage. So instead of complaining, some spouse often stuff their feeling or hide their feeling or try to put on a good face on a bad situation. Granted, this honesty can be, and note this honesty can be a good short-term solution to marital conflict. It will probably get you off the hook for a few days or a month, or keep the problem on the back burner. But it is a terrible long-term solution if you expect to live with each other in an harmonious relationship for the next couple of years. Long-term honesty is important. God bless you, Sir Fitzroy. So instead of, you see, my friend, it is dishonesty is a terrible long-term situation. If you expect to live with each other for the next few years and still be in love, dishonesty can get you into a great deal of trouble. Because there are so many out there who advocate dishonesty in marriage. I will now give you a highlight because this honesty is one of the love buster. Talk to you about this honesty before I move into the policy of radical honesty. And I think they are important to your relationship. If your spouse have an affair 10 years ago that was a brief indiscretion, would you want to know it? If you have an affair 10 years ago, would you want your spouse to know? If you have an affair 10 years ago that ended because you know it was wrong, should you tell your spouse about it? These are tough questions that go to the heart of dishonesty. Dishonesty is the strangest of the five love busters. And I talk about that some other time. The five love busters. Obviously, no one likes dishonesty. But sometimes honesty seems more damaging. Just what if, the truth is more painful than a lie? When a wife first learned that her husband has been unfaithful, the pain is often so great, she wishes she has been left ignorant. When a husband discovers his wife's affairs, it's like a knife sticking him in his heart. And he wonders if it would ever been better not knowing. In fact, many marriage counselors would advise clients to avoid telling spouse about past infidelity, saying that it is too painful for people to anger. Besides, it is over and done with. Why dredge up, why dig up the sewage of the past? It is this sort of confusion that leads to some of the most well-intentioned husbands and wives to lie to each other, or at least give each other false impression. They feel that this honesty will help them protect each other feeling. But the question must be asked, what kind of relationship is that? The lie is a wall that comes between two partners, sometimes hidden, a secret that cannot be mentioned, yet it is right under the surface of every conversation. And this honesty can be as addictive as drugs. One secret leads to another. If you start using this honesty to protect each other feeling, where will it end? Very important question. If you start using this honesty to protect each other feeling, where will it end? That is why this honesty is a strange love buster. Lies clearly hurts your relationship over the long term. But truth, but truth can also hurt, especially in the short term. It is no wonder that many couples continue in dishonesty because they feel they can't take the shock of facing the truth, at least right now. As a result, marriages are dying slowly. You see, honesty is like a flu shot. It may give you a short term sharp pain, but it keeps you healthier over the following months. In the case of infidelity, which many people have experienced, don't you think that your own affair will be one of the most important piece of information about yourself? How could you ever expect to have an intimate relationship with someone to whom you cannot reveal your most inner feeling? And that is why many of us are in relationship and we are not able, I shouldn't say able, we are not willing to reveal our most inner feeling. I'll admit that infidelity is an extreme example of something you should be tempted to lie about. But little white lies can be just as destructive when discovered, and there even less justification for them. You know how many relationships have been destroyed because of the little white lies that people keep telling their spouses, and when they are found out, they are like chichi. They have for over a period of time eat down the wall of trust and confidence. That when the spouse find out everything, the spouse decides, say, I can't trust you no more. If it makes sense to be honest about something as hurtful as an affair, it makes even more sense to be honest about something more trivial, such as buying something you know your spouse would not approve. I want to use the extreme case of infidelity to underscore the curious nature of this love buster and how important honesty is, even in extreme case. And that is why you got to learn to grow to love each other, understand each other, and make sure that the doors of communication are open so that when you speak with each other, you're speaking from a place of understanding each other. And that's why I tell people before you become lovers, become friends. Because real friend, authentic friend, genuine friend will tell you the truth and still be your friend. Let me hear me well. Whether the lie is about something as devastating as an affair or something that would simply be disappointing to your spouse, it is this honesty, not honesty, that makes matters worse. And I draw the distinction between the pain of a thoughtless act and the pain of knowing about the thoughtless act. Honesty sometimes creates some pain. The pain of knowing that your spouse has been thoughtless. But it is really the thoughtless act itself that cause the pain. Dishonesty may differ some of the pain, but it compound the pain later on. The truth, my friend, usually comes out eventually. And the months or year of hiding it not only create emotional barriers before it is revealed, but also destroy trust afterward. God bless your joy. It will destroy trust afterward. Dishonesty strangle compatibility. And I say that again. Dishonesty strangles compatibility. To create and sustain compatibility, you must lay your cards on the table. God bless you, Latoya. To create and sustain compatibility, you must lay your cards on the table. You must be honest about your thoughts, feeling, habits, likes, dislike, personal history, daily activity, and plans for the future. Can I say that again? You need to be and you must be dishonest about your thoughts, your feelings, habits, your likes, your dislike, your personal history, your daily activities, and plan for the future. When misinformation is a part of the mix, you have little hope of making successful adjustment to each other. Why? Because this honesty not only makes solution hard to find, it often leaves couple ignorant of the problem themselves. There's another important reason to be honest. Honesty tends to make our behavior more thoughtful. Honesty tends to make our behavior more thoughtful. If we knew that everything we do and say would be televised and reviewed by all our friends, we would be far less likely to engage in thoughtless acts. Criminals would not steal and commit violent acts as much as if they would because each time they did. You know why? Honesty is the television camera in our lives. Honesty is the television camera in our lives. We know what we do, and if we are honest about what we do, we tend not to engage in thoughtless acts because we know those acts will be revealed by ourselves. In an honest relationship, thoughtless acts are usually corrected. Bad habits are nipped in the bud. Honesty keep a couple from drifting into incompatibility as incompatible attitude and behavior are revealed. They can become target for elimination. And that is important. Honesty keep a couple from drifting into incompatibility. It's not what your sign, girl, is it compatible to mine? No, it's not that. When you're honest, it keeps you from drifting into incompatibility. Why? Because as incompatible attitudes and behavior are revealed, they can become targets for elimination. So as you become more compatible and you recognize the things that don't make it to your mix, you eliminate them. But if these attitudes and behavior remain hidden, they are left to grow out of control and they become big trees and live hanging over our love line and sometimes short circuit our relationship. Many couples who have been counseled have been confused as to what constitutes honesty in marriage. Many couples, and some of us here tonight don't really know what honesty in marriage is. But from my perspective, honesty is either you're honest or you're dishonest. There's no middle ground. For me, there's no middle ground. Either you're honest or you're dishonest. Is that true? If your marriage, if your relationship is infected by love buster, you really have, with dishonesty, you really have very little hope of doing what it takes to create and sustain a romantic love. So now, as I've explained to you about this honesty, let's now talk about number one, emotional honesty. Emotional honesty. What it is. And that is that you reveal your emotional reaction, which are both positive and negative, to the events of your life, particularly to your spouse behavior. How you react to your husband, how you respond when he touches you or she reaches out to you. Are you going through the motion just to satisfy him, but your heart isn't in it? As one man said, if your heart isn't in it, wasn't in it, why didn't our woman, why didn't you let me know? Some people find it difficult to openly express negative reaction. Notice I said express. They may fear that their spouses, they may fear that their spouse will be interpreted, or their response to the situation will be interpreted as criticism. Or they may feel ashamed of their own reaction, telling themselves that they should not feel the way they do. And as I said to a group a couple nights ago, that before you can have a good interpersonal relationship with anyone, you need to have a good intrapersonal relationship with yourself. You have to have a very good relationship with you. Therefore, you may want unconditional acceptance from your spouse and consider that their negative reaction will prove their own inability to be unconditionally accepted. Whatsoever the reason, many spouses try to avoid expressing their negative emotional reaction. While positive reactions are easy to communicate, many couples have not learned to express their feelings either. Many couples don't learn to express their feelings either. They will tell the man and woman, yes, I love that, I love that. But they will not, in a respectful way, say, I don't appreciate that. Many couples don't learn to, and therefore they battle it up. And which sometimes leads to passive aggression in the relationship. We will, like some people call it, some people cold shoulder you. This failure, my friend, if you don't learn to express your feeling in the relationship, this failure not only misses an important opportunity to accurately communicate basic feeling, but it also misses an opportunity to deposit love unit in your love bank or love fluid in your love tank. Whenever your spouse has made you feel good, if you express these feelings clearly and enthusiastically, you will reward your spouse for having made an appropriate adjustment to you. That in turn makes your spouse feel good. If you want to meet each other emotional need and you want to overcome the things that are damaging your relationship or love buster, one essential ingredient is an honest expression of your emotional reaction to each other. What makes a marriage successful is your willingness and ability to accommodate each other's feelings. And without that fact about those feelings, an otherwise happy couple can become very unhappy as the event of life changes. God bless you, Vincent. God bless you, O'Neill. God bless you, Kamar. God bless you, Tanisha. So I said, and without the fact about this feeling, and otherwise, happy couple can become very unhappy as the event of life changes. The condition that exists at the time of your marriage were partly responsible for the love you had for each other. Those conditions made it easy for you to make each other emotional needs and tend towards our love buster. They may have made you feel perfect for each other because you did not have to do much to make each other happy. Someone is asking about compatibility. You don't have to think alike to be compatible, but you will must understand each other. You don't have to see um the same things the same way all the while. No. Being compatible doesn't mean, God bless you, Diane. Being compatible doesn't mean that you don't have your own personal view and opinion about something. No. Compatible means that you can work together and both person impact each other in a positive way. That you're not destructive to each other, but you build up each other. So if if you are like most couples, those conditions change. Remember, I just was talking about when you just meet each other and when you get married. But if you are like most couples, those conditions changes right after you marry and have continued to change right up to present. Everyone that we married, there are several conditions that are changing right up to present. If you have not been able to adjust to these changes, you're probably very disillusioned about your compatibility. What had seemed effortless may seem impossible for you now. What might seem effortless might seem impossible for you now. But adjustment in marriage is not impossible. Adjustment in marriage is not impossible. Many people don't want to make the necessary adjustment in their marriage. Adjustment in marriage is not impossible. Can I say that again? Adjustment in marriage is not impossible. In fact, it may be quite a bit easier than you think because of the way your brain is put together. You have the ability to make remarkable adjustment. You have that ability to each other throughout life as your environment changes. But in order to be successful, you must do four things. First, you must realize, you must realize that these changes will take place whether you want them to or not. These changes will take place whether you want to or not. Many of the circumstances, many of the circumstances surrounding you cannot be controlled and will be changing constantly. Many of the changes, circumstances surrounding you cannot be controlled and will be changing constantly. Second, you must stick to your goal of meeting each other's most important emotional needs and avoid the love busters. A change can be very distracting, yes, and can cause both of you to lose sight of your primary objective in life. Don't let these changes cause you to lose sight of each other. No. Don't let the changes that is taking place cause you to lose sight of each other. Third, you must be totally committed to making all your decisions jointly and enthusiastically. Good question, brother Oni. Thirdly, and I'll address that question shortly. Thirdly, you must be totally committed to making all your decisions jointly and enthusiastically. Changes in circumstances require new decision, and each must be made with each other feelings in mind. Otherwise, the changes will leave one of you in the dust. Don't go on in life unless you are both on board. Don't go on in life unless you are both on board. Sir Forbes is asking the question, is it that person want out of that marriage while he or she refused to adjust? I don't think that's so. Sometimes it might be so. But if the marriage is important to you both, you will make all the necessary adjustment for the marriage to work. Not adjustment to your own detriment, but adjustment to the improvement of the quality of the relationship. And anyone who value their relationship, who value their marriage, will know that adjustment is important, adjustment is necessary. You can't be monotonous. Change is something we can't avoid. And we must learn how to be flexible. Because you might be brought up a certain way, your spouse is brought up another way. But the both of you are now together, you need to make those adjustments so that each of you can be happy. Why there's so many conflict in marriage is because people fail to make adjustment. Some mistake, some born and we name them. But you don't recognize that your attitude is the main cause for the turmoil and the acidity and the toxicity in the atmosphere of your marriage. And the thing is that most time we tend to point finger at our spouse, but we've never look on what we contribute to the relationship, for why the relationship is so unhealthy. You must be careful. You must totally commit to making all your decisions jointly and enthusiastically. Not because you are the man, you are going to make the decision and then come present it to the lady and say, so we are going. It don't work so. Make decision enthusiastically together. And the number 4, in order to make the best decision, you must be radically honest with each other about your emotional reaction to the changes in your life. The best decision take the emotional reaction of both parties. The best decision take the emotional reaction of both of you into account simultaneously. But without an honest expression of those reactions, you'll be missing the target. While some couple may fail to make a successful adjustment after feeling or honestly explain, failure is almost guaranteed when the need for adjustment is never communicated. Always take each other complaint seriously. Ouch. Take each other complaint seriously. So many times the wife complain about something or the husband complain about something. And we ignore it. We pay it no mind. We shut it down. Always take each other complaint seriously. As I mentioned earlier on, your emotional reaction are gauge of whether you're making good adjustment to each other. There are people who are living together for quite some time now and still have not made the necessary adjustment to live in a harmonious relationship with each other. There's always conflict, there's always turmoil, there's always confusion because we don't learn and we don't listen to each other complain and seek to make the necessary adjustment. Once the complaints are valid, I'm not talking about complaint that seeks to be controlling. Because I've been thinking about doing a program about controlling the effect of being a control freak in your relationship. You must allow your spouse to be themselves, and you need to allow your spouse to be his or herself. If you both feel good, you need no adjustment. If one or both of you feel bad, a change is indicated. But let me explain it a little further. What honesty is not. Because we talk about this honesty, we start talk about emotional honesty, but let us talk about what honesty is not. It is not selfish demand or disrespectful judgment or angry outbursts. So at least I tell you about three love busters now. Dishonesty, disrespectful judgment, or angry outbursts. Honesty is not selfish demand. That is, in fact, a four. Selfish demand, disrespectful judgment, or angry outbursts. And the fourth love buster would have been dishonesty. So the honesty is not selfish demand or disrespectful judgment or angry outbursts. No. Expressing a feeling is not the same as expressing a demand. If you try to tell your spouse what you do, you're not revealing and honest. If you try to tell your spouse what to do, sorry, you're trying to tell your spouse what to do, you're not revealing an honest feeling. You're making a demand. If your spouse does something that bothers you, the correct way to express it is simply say that it bothers you. And else we are talk about the policy of joint agreement. You know, where two you come together and agree on something. You see, here, when you express to your spouse, the policy of joint agreement would take over here from the and help you try to resolve the problem down the road. If you tell your spouse that he or she is wrong about something, you're not being honest, you're being judgmental. While you should be free to express your belief and opinion, you should respect your spouse's belief and opinion. Uh-oh. While you should be free to express your belief and opinion, you should respect your spouse's belief and opinion. Don't try to control them and demand that they be accept what you say. No. If you try to straighten out your spouse, you're not being honest. When you're married to a woman, you didn't marry to your mother. When you're married to a man, you didn't marry to your father. So you don't need somebody to straighten you out. Oh God. You're married to your spouse. You're married to the person who God has placed into your life. Somebody who is equal to you. If you try to straighten out your spouse, you're not being honest. You're making a disrespectful judgment. The expression of feeling should not carry judgmental baggage with it. It goes without saying that angry outbursts are not expression of honesty either. When people have them, they often think that they are being honest. But that's their taker trying to rationalize. Listen, Janelle. There is a taker trying to rationalize what is actually cruel and destructive. Whatsoever it is, you have to say when you are angry is not worth saying. Keep that basic principle in mind so that you will keep your mouth shut when you feel angry. Because word once spoken cannot be retrieved. Whatsoever it is you have to say when you're angry is not worth saying. Keep this basic principle in mind so that you will keep your mouth shut when you feel angry. When you have recovered from your anger, it is safe to tell your spouse what was bothering you. It is safe because you cool down, you calm, you relax now. Failure to express negative feeling perpetuate the withdrawal of love unit. Some people will never tell their spouse that they hurt them. Some people will never tell their spouse that they don't agree with that, and they don't think that that's really them. And what they harbor this thing, and what will happen is that they will start to criticize, then they will start end up in the zone, the era of contempt, then they might end up stonewalling and all of those things. So failure to express negative feeling perpetuate the withdrawal of love unit. It prevents a resolution to a marital conflict because the conflict is not expressed. Negative feelings provide evidence that a couple has not yet reached a successful marital adjustment, which indicates that more work needs to be done. But positive feeling is not only does not only offer proof for a successful adjustment, but they also provide a reward to those that has been successful. Don't neglect to tell each other how you feel when you are happy. Never neglect to tell each other how you feel when you are happy. So we look at emotional honesty. And you can post your questions in the chat. Now, let me look at historical honesty now. And this one, I can show you it about. Because in historical honesty, it reveals information about your personal history, particular event that demonstrate personal weakness or failure. You see, if you're going to really love somebody and honest to them, you have to tell yourself that you have to be vulnerable. And some people don't want to open up because to open up, they might think that they are weak. But you need to reveal info because your spouse can't read your mind. They don't know that they do this, and because of some historical happenings in your life, you don't like that when that is said or when that is done. If you have never said it. Whenever you and your spouse make a decision together or try to resolve conflict with policy of joint agreement, one factor must never be ignored is your past. That because why? Because mistake and success of the past often provide evidence of what likely to happen in the future. While many people feel that embarrassing experience or serious mistake of the past should be forgotten, most psychologists recognize that these are often signs of present weakness. For example, if someone has ever had an affair, he or she may be vulnerable to another one. If someone has ever been chemically dependent, he or she is vulnerable to drug or alcohol abuse in the future. By expressing past mistakes openly, your spouse can understand your weaknesses and together you can avoid conditions that tend to create problems for you. No era of your life should be kept secret. Ouch, I feel like I reach a bump there. No era of your life should be kept secret. All questions asked by your spouse should be answered fully and with complete and completely with period of poor adjustment in your past given special attention. Not only should you explain your past to your spouse, but you should also encourage your spouse to gather information from those who know you before you met your spouse. This is tough. You know why? Once you get information about your spouse, it can be a real eye opener. You see, I carry this policy of radical honesty about your past all the way to disclose. You know, some people don't want to disclose all their premarital and extramarital sexual relationship. That is because those experiences are among your most important. You see, your premarital and your extramarital sexual relation are some of the most important experiences in your life, you know. And your spouse should know anything you regard as important. And many marriages now are not being enjoyed because historical happening, what you experienced in the past during your sex life, you're not experiencing it now. And you harbor that, you hoard that, and it causes you not to be honest with your spouse. That is why I talk about counseling, and counseling must talk about sex, serious sex. How you love it, how you want it, how you don't want it. Past sexual experience also create contrast effect in marriage. And it is inevitable that you will compare your spouse sexually with all other past relationship. And a lot of women and a lot of man has been doing that, complaining, comparing their spouse sexually with all their other past sexual relationship. And that is why they are not having and enjoying evil sex. I know I'm getting and troubling some people now. If your spouse know your sexual history, knowing your sexual history can make a present sexual problem much easier to understand. Why you not enjoying me making love to you? Why each time you turn over, you kiss your teeth? Why you not enthusiastic to make love to me? Why is it that my touch does not ignite any fire in your body or in your life? Why? And you refuse because what? I come into your life a certain way. You were that. You usually enjoy that a certain way. I know nothing about that and I'm doing the thing how I know it to do. And you don't even tell me that you usually enjoy this. You have people who complain and argue that if they tell their spouse about the mistake they made decades ago, their spouse will be crushed and never trust them again. So you said, why not just leave that the little demon in the past? My answer to that is that it is not a little demon. If you have had an affair, it's an extremely important part of your personal history. And it says something about your predisposition. If you had an affair in the past, your spouse shouldn't shouldn't trust you? Is that what you're saying? Somebody said, I certainly wouldn't. But what if you hadn't strayed since it happened? What if you are seeing your pastor regularly to hold you accountable? Why put your spouse through the agony of a revelation that could ruin your relationship forever? I say to you, don't give your spouse much credit. Honesty does not drive a spouse insane. Dishonesty does. God bless you, Andrea. Honesty does not drive a spouse insane. Dishonesty does. People in general, and women in particular, want to know exactly what their spouses are thinking and feeling. When you hold something back, your spouse try to guess what it is. If he or she is right, then you must continue to lie to cover it up. If he or she is wrong, an incorrect understanding of you and your predisposition develop. Maybe you don't really want to be known for who you are. Many people married an image and never get the substance out of their spouses. And a lot of that takes place in a church because some people don't believe in divorce and remarriage. So they are enduring the relationship instead of enjoying it. You're just going through the motion. Just go through the motion. Because what? They are with you and they figure that they are stuck with you, so they must go on. They're not really enjoying you. You don't make them happy. You don't excite them. You know, if you're sick and die, nothing will be missed out of their life. Honesty is important in a relationship. Don't string your partner along. The truth always hurting. Lies like a band-aid, it covers. But the truth is like a scalpel, it cuts so that it can reveal and remove the cancerous tumor. As O'Neill asks, should one be absolute honest in a relationship if it will hurt one party? Radical or absolute honesty mean that even if a murderer who wants to kill your husband, wife, or wife, and he or she is in the house, you should not lie to the murderer. I know there's a lot of hurting people. Lot of hurting people. You see, a lot of us don't really want to be known for who we are. Lot of us. That is the saddest position of all. You will rather keep your secret than experience one of life's greatest joy, to be loved and accepted in spite of your weaknesses. You don't know to go hurt your partner until you say it. But if you have as I hope said earlier on, if the door of communication has been open wide and you know to communicate with each other, then it should not hurt too deeply where your partner can't forgive you. Communicate, and one program we talk about communication and prevent, I have to repeat it again. Communication is key. That is why I said at least give yourself 15 hours a week to spend with your partner. That is your partner personal time. No children, no phone, nobody. And if you can't love and accept the woman and the man for their weakness, because everybody you marry to has a weaknesses. And you need to love the whole package. Some counselors argue that the only reason people reveal past infidelity is because of anger. They are deliberately trying to hurt their spouse with that information. Or they might be doing it to relieve their own guilt at the expense of their spouse's feeling. While it is true that spouse usually feel hurt and vengeance or feeling of guilt motivates some. Whenever correct information is revealed, an opportunity for understanding and change is presented. That opportunity is more important than unhealthy motive or momentary unhappiness. Some revelation may need to be made in the presence of a professional counselor to help control the emotional damage. Spouses sometimes have difficulty adjusting to revelation that have been kept secret for years. In many cases, they are not reacting to the revelation as much as the fact that they have been lied to all the time. That is what they are reacting to. They are reacting to that they have been lied to all the time. Tell me this. As I keep saying, like, if your heart isn't in it, let me know. If I don't excite you anymore, let me know. Don't hurt me. Hurt me. Don't hurt me with the lie. Let me hear. Don't hurt me. Tell me the truth. Hurt me with the truth. Don't love me with a lie. Some spouses with emotional weaknesses may need personal counseling to help them adjust. The saints they thought they married turned out to be not so saintly. Ego, Michelle. Ego, 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 ego. And let me tell you something. And that is why so many men, as Michelle is asking, why is it most men don't like counseling? Ego. And sometimes we think we know it. Because people have been advised and suggest that some men talk to me, and the response is that Peku can't tell them nothing where them don't know already. And when them get to learn and know about Peku and Peku start talk to them, they start saying, oh Lord, I didn't know this, I didn't know it. Our ego sometimes prevent us from becoming healthy husbands. The saints, sometimes the saints, some people think they're married, turn out to be saintly. That is why it's important you make the man see in courtship, in dating, make them see the real you. So they will know what they are getting into. They can make the decision whether they want to marry to you, yes or no. The most negative reaction to truth that you one can never witness, I've never destroyed a person or a marriage. No. It is this honesty that destroys intimacy. It is this honesty that destroys the feeling of love and marriage. When a couple comes to you, come to you, you come to me, we need to have a complete personal history questionnaire which systematically review many of the significant events of their past. Tonight, I want to thank God. That is so true, honey. Man who don't want to resolve the relationship will reject counseling. That is true, Latoya. Some will behave like we know it all. And we have talked about emotional honesty. We have spoken about historical honesty. And when we gather back again, we want to talk about current honesty and things. Are we being honest to our spouse now? What is it that we're hiding from them? Do we delete messages from our phone? When we get the bonuses, does our spouse know that we get extra money? I read that and I post a story in a group that I had, that I'm a part of. That a man wife, he had a job, She have another job, struggling them trying to make 20. But she happened to get sick, and he tries out of his money to do everything. She was to go into the hospital and then he pay X amount of money for 300,000, 300 naira for her to do the operation. When they finish doing it, they find out that he needs something more need to be done, so he needs $80,000. And he could not find it. How do we try borrow from? Eventually, he said he's going to put his car out to get that to him. He get the money. And he went home and he was sweeping out and under the bed, he must sweep out. And when him look, him feel something, touch something. When him look, in the mattress, there was a bag with over $250,000. The man said, hold on, this wife here have this money here and nobody no know. So he paid for the money out of the rest of $80,000 for the medical fee. Took out the mattress and he burnt it. And he bought a new one. Buy some things for himself. When the wife come home, she recognized that a new mattress was there. And she asked what happened to the old one. And he said to her, insect is taking up the place with it. So I had to burn it. And the children say the same thing too. She never said anything. But that woman was in pain for the rest of her life. And when they asked her why she feeling pain, she lied by saying that the place where the operation was done still hurts. She refused to be honest with the man that she was saving that money. And we're waiting till we get to financial honesty. We might get there next week or the other week. So you can't afford to miss no Tuesday night relationship card. Because so many of us are not honest currently. And as Andrea said, she don't reach there yet, but she's getting there. Yes, that is honesty. I have not yet attained, but this one thing I'm doing, I'm reaching for to those things which are ahead. Hear me and hear me well. I trust your heart was blessed. I trust you learned something. And for those of you who are part of different churches, don't be afraid to invite your group and say, you need to come listen because every one of us need to be pouring into each other. Don't be like some people say, boy, me no need no man or woman, they can't tell me nothing. We can learn from each other. How honest are you emotionally? How honest are you historically? And is it because that historical lie, that historical dishonesty that you have not yet revealed to your partner? Because some people come from some place that they enjoy, and they have not revealed that, they have not said that to their partner, and they are miserable now. And can I be very frank? So many are get saved, but he had some freakish things about him. Get saved in a church, get married to a nice church sister. But because she don't know that he enjoy doing freaky things, they're always complaining, he's always complaining, they're always disagreeing. But he failed to talk, to say, this is what I enjoy. Some women are coming from that position too. And because she don't want, because she played the holy and thou person in a church, at trim wide like umbrella, dressed tall like Maxie. But when she get into the confines of the bedroom, it's not like that. And she's not enjoying that now with this man, or he's not enjoying that now with that woman. And what happened? You're not being honest with each other. Be honest. As Paula asked, what if you're honest about your bonus and your husband want to use half the money? One of my cousin husband always make plans for her bonuses. You see, when we get to financial honesty, we do it is a laughing father. I mean, you can't if it's both to your money, but you should not be selfish that you make plans just because you know. And some people do that. Soon as they know you're getting money, them start make plans, not considering that you too have needs. You're married, but you too have needs for the money that comes in. But your needs should not supersede the family needs. Yes, Michelle, historical lies destroy trust, and it is very hard to rebuild mishandled trust. Very hard. So you see, we want to have a conversation. We must have this conversation. A lot of us in a church are struggling. When that lady get her bonus, and every time she get the bonus, the man, you know what that is putting her to do? It is, the devil is telling her, don't tell him. Is it that the plan that he make for the bonus is for the beneficial for the entire family? Is for the upward mobility of the family? Is that him figure say boy the room want pay or the house want pay and all of that? Is it that what he makes? So you see, it goes back to communication. Goes back to communication. Once you learn to communicate, and you see, you can't be a taker. You must be a giver and a taker in the relationship. Yes, Ron. We discuss real life things right here. You see, to not to tell him is a lie, and thing, and you might be hiding things from him. That is why, before you get into marriage, you need to establish certain things and make sure you know the person. God bless you, Sister Knight. You know the person, and that is why I said this 3 month thing here don't work. No, if a 3 month and church say we're married because we might go commit fornication. And I keep encouraging people, be the whole you. So true, Michelle. Sometimes the plan made is not even necessary. Communication, communication, communication. If that is not taking place in the marriage, and you have to be thinking about the family, because you're not even though you're an individual, you're now in a family. What I do, how does it impact my family? How does it impact my relationship? Be free to ask your question. I felt a sense of accomplishment tonight. The Lord has really spoken to us. And you can share this video, share this live with somebody, share it with your marriage department. Because I tell you, a lot of dishonesty is swirling around in the relationship them in church. Lot, a whole lot. We want to build healthy relationship. We want to build stable relationship. We need to be honest. Thank you for joining tonight if there's no question. Thank you for being a part of our life. Some people saw the flyer and they loved the picture, not knowing that it was a flyer, not just a picture of me and Mrs. Peccoo. And remember, every Tuesday night at 8 p.m., right here on this page, Winston Peccoo aka Dr. Love. We have honest discussion. We have frank talk about relationship. Tell your neighbor, tell your friend. You need some relationship counsel and advice. You can talk to me. You follow the page and you'll see that there's a lot of things on the page, both theologically and about relationship. God bless you and good night. Thank you for joining. See you next week if Lord the life is spare and the Lord tarry. Good night. Good night. Sometimes they believe that when you get saved and you have baby daddy, he's your husband. Not so. No, 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 no. So true. Yes, that's the purpose, Michelle. We need to mend a hurting church and a broken relationship. That's the goal. Because too many of us are jumping up in a church, getting twisted in the spirit, but have broken homes, broken home, broken home. And your baby daddy don't necessarily mean that he's your husband. You need to follow hear what the Lord is saying. Bless you one, bless you all, and good night again. Bless you, Simone. Bless you, Tammy. Bless you, Paula. Bless you, Andrea. God bless you, Latoya. Bless you, Michelle. God bless you, full penwood, full truth. God bless you, Ron. God bless you, Ron.